Welcome to the Young, Dumb, and in Love podcast, where we talk about all things marriage.
Our goal is to help equip you to have a marriage that is better than you have ever imagined by sharing real-life experiences, getting into the nitty-gritty, and sharing practical ways you can start today. Let's dive in. I just checked the weather in Phoenix. It is the end of September, and it is 109 degrees.
Welcome to fall in Arizona.
Guess what it's going to be tomorrow?
110.
No, 112.
112. Wow.
So hold off a little longer if you're looking for somewhere to go.
Wow.
You know, to get out of the rain. You probably want to wait another month, you think? I feel like if we can get to it's kind of, you got to get to
Halloween. We're in
Halloween.
Halloween season pretty much already.
Almost.
Everyone around us, everyone we see. People are drinking their pumpkin spice lattes.
Whatever, you like pumpkin cold foam. You know what, though? I was at Hobby Lobby twice this week.
Oh, wow. What are you doing there, huh?
Well, actually, I'm there getting stuff for...
Getting some pumpkin spice?
Some Spirit Week. No, I don't actually decorate for fall because it's still summer.
But I love the smell of pumpkin spice. So can you please go to the store and get some candles? Thank you.
Anyway, yeah.
I mean, I will. Whatever.
Okay, sure. Hobby Lobby. And they have Christmas decorations literally everywhere. I'm like...
Everywhere.
I just feel like it gets earlier and earlier. And I love Christmas. I mean, obviously, Christmas is the best.
I love Christmas. It's my favorite.
But I feel like, whoa.
Slow down. Hold your horses.
I'm just getting into the fall
I'm
rhythm.
still swimming. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in my pool.
The pool is too cold for me.
Nah, it's perfect.
No.
It's perfect.
When we
it
first
actually
moved
cools you
here
down.
from Washington, I could swim in the pool longer and earlier
all the way
in the
through
year.
October.
Now I am dip my toe in and I'm a little baby. I'll just lay next to the pool with a book.
No, I'm good because it's warm enough to lay by the pool and still tan.
Well, tomorrow's 112, so
yeah,
yes,
what's the UV index?
Okay, you sound like our teenager.
I know. That's what I know. I'm dying.
I can't even find it right now. Oh, right now it's high. It's
oh
6.
wow, I should go out there
you
and
should
tan.
Put sunscreen on though. Okay, anyway, welcome back to the podcast. This week.
Yes, this week.
It's funny because we both had the same idea.
Yeah.
But
she texted me and said, "What should we talk about?" So I sent her what I thought.
I have been unusually busy.
Oh yeah, we've both been very busy.
And I've been gone all week.
Unreally
busy.
Unusually
busy. So obviously, usually, there's a lot going on, but then you add in a couple extra things and forget it.
Yeah.
I'm hanging on
so true.
by a thread. And
Yep. It's so true.
That's great.
It's okay. It's life. That's what
life.
you do. You take
pivot.
the punches, poof, poof, and you pivot and you dodge other punches and you just go with it. You just go.
Well, and I was actually thinking this is that, as I was thinking about, Fridays we try to record the podcast. So I was thinking about it this morning. I thought, you know what? This is why it's so important to invest in your marriage and to have a great foundation in your marriage, because it has been wild, crazy, busy, and I haven't been able to keep up with the stuff I do around the house,
yep.
And pickups and stuff like that. And instead of you being frustrated with me because I'm busy, you're you just pick up the slack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's one of those weeks where I want to be hi, my name's Brittany. What's your name? But if we didn't have a strong marriage, it could definitely cause
strife.
Yep. Because it is frustrating that I'm dropping the ball.
But instead, this is not a 50-50 relationship. This is 100-100. We're giving all at all times.
Yeah.
And when someone's having a hard time because of schedules or whatever's going on, the other person just puts their all in. And it makes your marriage
and
so
it ebbs
good.
and flows, because it's right now I happen to be the one that's been gone more.
Yeah.
And so you have to.
And I've been super busy too. Just I get to stay here and be busy.
Stay here and be busy. Anyway, but we both had the same idea. We were why don't we see what are the most Googled questions about marriage?
Yeah.
I put in specifically marriage. I don't know what you did.
I did too.
Spam.
What are the top 10 most Googled questions about marriage?
Yeah. And there was more than, I don't know about you, but I got different versions. I don't know if it gave me a bunch of different versions, but I just picked 10 that I felt these are good.
Yeah.
These 10.
Yeah.
So.
And what do you think the number one thing that people Google in marriage
I
is?
felt very, what's the word?
Good?
Not good. Yes, but when you, like confirmation.
Confirmation.
Maybe,
I was gonna say
that we
justified.
talk about. Yeah, that's too. That we talk about this all the time.
do.
So I was like, yeah.
We almost
number
talk about it
one-
in every single
No, because
podcast.
it always circles back around.
Yeah.
So if you've been here a while,
Yep.
the first question is, how do I improve communication in my marriage?
Yep. Number one,
which I'm not surprised.
yeah. It's the biggest issue in marriage
Yeah.
as a whole. And mostly, I would say 99% of your problems are communication. It comes
Yeah.
down to the communication in your marriage. And you know what? Here's the thing. Everyone deals with it.
Yep.
We all go through it. And there's just got to be a way to learn how to fix
Yeah.
it in our lives.
Yeah. Well, and we have so many episodes that we dive deep into communication. And go ahead. What were you saying?
No, you go ahead.
And we have plans to, like we want to be able to like even have like a communication like course and really like help people navigate it, like help them like with them, help them.
You say that so lightly. You say it like, oh, we would love to have that. Like we're in the middle of writing it and it's deep
I
in
think
our
it's
souls
cute that
and
you
it's on
say
paper.
We are writing it. But I did tell you we are one brain. So you're right.
We are writing it
Writing
because
it.
it's from our content that we've done together. So yes,
Yes, we
you
are.
might be the writer.
You give me really good content.
Yeah, I do. I sure do. Too
Anyway,
good of content
yes.
sometimes where I'm
So
embarrassed.
because I think that the thing is you like just to be able to help people. But first, well, okay, I have so many things. You know how it is. Brittany is having a moment. I want to just give a couple, like these are just like quick questions, quick answers, not like a whole thing. So we have lots of episodes on very specific topics like communication styles and how to communicate, how to forgive, how to, all of that.
Yeah.
Navigate. But I just start listening more. Like if I want to, like right now, if I'm like, how do I just be better at communicating? Maybe start listening.
Yeah, because we can think that communicating is talking more, but really it's not just talking.
Yeah.
It's
like
listening. Yes.
Yeah. Like what is my spouse really saying? Like what's really going on? So start listening more was kind of like my first, like, okay, if I was struggling communicating with Julian, which sometimes we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Like what would I do? Okay, I'm going to start listening more.
Yeah.
Or even with our kids, like when our kids are struggling, or maybe
Instead of getting frustrated with them and be like,
okay,
come
I'm
on,
gonna
what's wrong with
stop
you?
And I'm going to listen. Like what's really like going on here? You know, like start listening. Which is funny because I'm like, it talks about like being slow to speak.
Yeah.
And slow to get angry, and quick
to listen. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I think we would like to get like people like want to have the last word.
Yes, I know all about that.
No, okay, I'm not. I'm just saying, like when someone just like keeps, and you're just like, okay, like that's like we know that's enough, but just like start listening.
That's something we actually use in our marriage a lot. We actually use the acronym OK. To sometimes we'll look at each other and be like, okay,
which means
overkill. Overkill.
Like,
I get it.
Like you
don't have to keep going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've had to use it on me way more
that's
times.
not true.
No, it's so true.
And then I wrote like, okay, this is so simple, but be nice.
Yeah.
Like just start like being nice.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when communication is struggling, we have a tendency to be really sharp.
So your tone.
And unkind. Yeah.
Your tone and
all of it.
how you say it.
Your body language. Well, and how often, I say this all the time. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it.
So true.
Because you can say the exact same thing and how you present it changes how it comes off and how it's perceived, right? So if I say something to you and it could be the exact same words, but it's how I present it.
Yep.
And how my body language, my tone, the way I am looking at you,
so many variables.
The level of my voice, my volume, all of it.
Yep.
It makes
so
a
many
huge
things.
difference,
So big.
Um,
Well, and with that too, it's like you may not do it on purpose, right? There's going to be a lot of times where you respond or say something and it just came out. Maybe you're just like literally like you're kind of too chill in that moment and you say it in such a way where they're like, do you even care? I get that 100%. Like we've been in that situation where I'm literally not trying to say anything rude or be rude whatsoever. So it's just being conscious of how you're saying it is so important, because your spouse will read everything. And when you say something and they look at you and you look like you don't care, it doesn't matter if you say you care, they're going to think you don't care whatsoever.
Yeah, totally. Hold on. You know when you get kicked out of your phone? Ugh.
Yes, happens all the time.
And then start asking questions.
Yes.
Like if I was, and these are just, obviously these are pretty surface, like boom, boom, boom. And we have so many episodes.
Simple
and
things.
We'll put them in the notes and you can go back and listen to them. Because
so many episodes.
I would say probably at least 25% of the episodes are some
form of communication.
But just start asking more questions. Like, how was your day? How can I serve you? Is there anything I can do for you?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on at work? What's going on? Just ask questions.
Yeah.
Because I think you even talked about this like 2 episodes ago. Like, people like to talk about themselves. Your spouse probably would like to share things with you. So just start asking questions and see how that like opens up your spouse to start communicating more.
Yeah.
So that would be my quick response to the first question.
Yeah. And you can do this so easily by setting up times where you do that with each other.
Yeah.
Put your phones down, you put your computers down,
Yeah.
you don't have any distractions, and you just look at each other in the eyes and you have those conversations and you ask those questions. How are you doing? What's going on? Just like little quick checkups. And it doesn't need to be a date. It doesn't need to be over dinner. It doesn't need to be nothing special. Like, go for a quick walk, sit out on the couch, like whatever works for you in your situation.
I think we have a tendency sometimes to overcomplicate things.
Yes.
Because we,
and it's gotta be special.
I do. And I definitely I'm that person. Not even special, but like, I'm the type that if it can't be perfect, I just won't do it.
For sure.
And so I overthink it. And sometimes done is better than perfect. So
100%.
Just have that conversation. Like, okay, it's 5 minutes. It's quick. It may not be super romantic, but just like have the conversation.
Yeah.
So what was the second one? Do you have it?
It says, the second question was, how do I know if my marriage is over? That's the number 2 question asked on Google for marriage. Like,
that's a tough one.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, my heart is broken, because there's so many broken marriages out there, and way more than you can ever imagine. You're not alone. Like, I just want to tell you, if you're listening to this and your marriage is broken and you feel like it's over, like, you're not alone. It's a very, very common thing for people to feel this way. And that's where I would say, what your marriage is really based upon you and your spouse and where you're at together, right? And now that sounds like, well, yeah, duh. But it really, what I'm saying is, it really depends on how much effort you are putting in. At the beginning of this episode, I said, this is not a 50-50 marriage, right? This is not, I give some, you give some, we give a little, if you don't give any, I'm not giving any. Like, that's not how it should work. It should be 100%. We each are putting 100% in. And that's when you're going to be able to save your marriage, because you're not going to get to the point where you ask the question, how do I know when my marriage is over? And if that's where you're at, man, the first thing you should do is get help. Go find somebody. Go find a counselor. Go find a Christian counselor. Go find a pastor to talk to. And now they are two different things. One's a counselor. They're trained. They know how to walk through the steps. And a pastor is going to be there spiritually to help you, help guide you, and help you see biblical principles for your marriage and really move forward. But I just pray that we don't get to that point where we're saying, how do I know my marriage is over? Because if you're asking that question, you probably already know the answer. And I would beg you to say, have you put in the effort to get out of that place? And is your spouse willing to?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. I didn't even write notes because I was like, I guess we'll just take that one on the fly. How do I know if my marriage is over? Here's the thing. I don't think anything is over until you fought for it, right? Yeah. I've seen marriages. I've seen both. Okay. So, I'll be honest, like years and years of ministry and walking people through things, I've seen marriages end, and I've seen marriages be restored. The difference is that the ones that are restored are two people who have decided
Yes.
that they are going to fight, that they are going to dig their heels in, that they're going to do the work, they're going to
Yep.
go to counseling, they're going to love each other, they're going to pursue the Lord, pursue each other.
That's right.
And they're going to do whatever it takes to get there,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then the ones that have ended, usually one spouse doesn't want the marriage to continue.
Exactly.
Now that
That's why I
doesn't
said
mean
100,
right, and that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that person can't like pray and believe that their spouse
not at all.
changes their heart. But I really think that is something that has to be between you, your spouse, and the Lord, right? Like you're gonna know,
Yeah.
you know. But like you said, get help, get counseling, you know. Share it with like maybe a spiritual leader, whether that's a pastor, whether that's someone you can trust, and then, you know, fight for your marriage, you know, and that's hard. And how will you know? That's really only something you can answer. You know, but marriage is worth fighting for. Marriage is worth keeping, not just for
sure,
you and your spouse, but for your family, for the people that are around you, you know?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that, you know, you stay in a situation that you're not being, you know, protected, loved, that you're safe. You know, there's just like so many different variables to that. So,
Woo. You're not going to get you're not going to get a good answer on Google about that one.
No, because I mean, like every marriage is so different, and you know, everything's so different. But, ooh, man, yeah.
Well, the third one was, how do I know how do I build let's try this again.
Words are hard.
How do I rebuild trust after infidelity?
Ooh,
okay,
yeah.
We've talked about this. We actually have a couple of episodes about this one because we've been very close to people who have walked through this. And we've seen other marriages that have walked through it, and we've seen them come out on the other side better and stronger. And we believe that it is 100% possible to rebuild trust, to have a better marriage, to thrive after infidelity. And so obviously the first thing that you need to do is just be honest. So whoever, like if you are the offender, the best thing that you can do is to put everything on the table and be completely honest up front. Mm-hmm. Don't hold anything back. No more secrets, no more lies. Put it all on the table and say, here I am. This is it. This is everything. That's the best place to start when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And it'll help your spouse rebuild that trust.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about, like you said, we have so many times we've talked about this, but boundaries. Yeah. Man, and every time we talk about boundaries, we get those comments that are like, oh, that's so controlling.
Yeah.
That's so, you know, whatever. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Call it controlling. For me, it's not about control. It's about respect.
Yeah.
And especially if there's been infidelity, like boundaries, I bet you now that person's like, I wish I would have had those boundaries because they would have kept me within, you know, like would have kept me from that, or at least would have made a huge difference. And so boundaries, because the bottom line is trust is easy to lose and hard to gain.
Yep.
Like once you've lost it, like, oof, like that is going to be, it's a slow crawl back to
journey.
it. Yep. You know what I mean? It's not like just the next day your spouse can be like, oh yeah, now I trust you. Like there's a deep wound. Like there has been a broken vow. So now you have to rebuild.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to take time.
Yeah.
Boundaries are huge. We have an entire episode on boundaries. We talk about our boundaries and why we have our boundaries, and, you know, why we don't really care what anyone else says about them, and how they don't feel controlling to us. It actually feels freeing, because I know that when Julian says he's at this place, that he's at that place. Period.
Yep.
And if he's not, I'm gonna be like, why aren't you where you said you were? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's never like, oh, I don't know where he's at. I'm like, I know where he is. I know who he's with. I know what he's probably eating. I know that he went to the bathroom. I know that he's gonna have to go poop when he gets home. Like, the bottom line is, like, be where you said you're gonna be.
Exactly.
With who you said you're gonna be with. Yeah. Doing what you said you're gonna be doing.
So true. Yep. And like she said, it's going to be a long process. So the thing that you need to remember is, especially as the offender, this is going to be something that you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. Like at the end of the day, there's going to be things that trigger your spouse to feel the feelings that they felt at one point, and you now in some ways will forever have to fight against this as much as possible. As much as it sucks, there's just times that'll happen. And then also, like, the thing that caused you to make that decision to be unfaithful to your spouse, that's another thing that you're going to have to continue to fight inside of yourself every single day. Because when that temptation comes again, or those thoughts come to your mind, or whatever the situation it is, when that happens and the opportunity presents itself, like, you're going to have to respond differently and tell yourself to respond differently every single time. And so it's a constant battle. It's a constant fighting. It's a constant growing. You're never going to be perfect at it. I don't think you'll ever be perfect at it, but I do think you can be set free from it in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think too, like you said, a huge part of rebuilding the trust is showing your spouse, like, hey, I see, like, this is what happened. Like, this is what went wrong. This is where it's at. And not that that's an excuse, but I'm going to do the work to heal that part, to really get in there and figure out, like, what was it? Why did this happen? How did this happen? And then set boundaries around that. You know what I mean? Because nothing is worth, like, I would rather have all these like seemingly wild boundaries and keep my family than be able to do something that would cause me to stumble. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing about rebuilding trust, is it's going to take time. It's going to have boundaries. Let's see what else. And then as the person, you know, it's like, you want to make sure you're, like, if it was you that it happened to, like, sometimes you're going to have to ask yourself, like, okay, right now I'm feeling a lot of mistrust. Like, is it warranted, or is it a past wound and it's coming up? You know, so there's just, we talk about this so much in that episode that I just go listen to it, ask questions.
For sure.
You know, but just always communicate, be open, be honest, and know that it's going to take time.
Yeah. How do I make long distance marriage work? Well, we've never experienced this personally. We've always been
was
together.
Surprised this was a question, because it was on every, like, version that I asked, because it spit out a couple of different ones. You know, it's like, here's one, here's another. And it was on both of them. I wrote, I have no idea. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think you could, obviously. I do know a couple who is doing that right now. You could ask them, I guess. I think it would be really, really difficult. Yeah. Like, I mean, do I think it could work? Of course. I think anything could work.
Yeah. But a part of marriage is connection.
That it's necessarily, like, the healthiest thing.
Yeah. Well, and there's obviously situations. So, like, there's military.
Okay. Yes.
There's going to be a wife who stays home and a husband goes, or vice versa.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking that. I'm thinking, like, yes,
that's the only kind of long distance I can think of. Like, if you're married but you're living in two different states, you know, and,
I mean, yes, you can make it work, but I would definitely say, do your best to figure out how to remedy that, like, as soon as possible.
Together as much, you know.
Obviously, military, that's an exception.
Yeah. But if you're like just living in different states because, you know, got a job somewhere else, but the other one doesn't want to leave, like, that's a deeper rooted issue where, you know, we got to be able to work together on every decision that we make. And so if it's a decision that maybe one spouse made by themselves and took them there, like, there's a deeper issue. So how to make it work? I mean, obviously, same thing with, like, we were talking about with infidelity. Like, you got to have boundaries. You got to have your commitment. You're 100% in, both of you. You're making the commitment to each other. Obviously, God. Like, you're going to need a lot of God in your in your marriage so that you can just stay strong and stay faithful and do everything that you can to see each other as much as possible. Talking all the time. Communication doesn't just need to be good. It needs to be through the roof. So yes, and just talking every day. And obviously there's lots of other variables that we can go into, but that's just, you know.
I would say, I mean, it would be really difficult for me.
Yeah.
And try to get close to each other as soon as possible.
One of you that are listening, just give up whatever it is that we're holding on to and just go to the other.
I mean, I know there's everyone. It's all different circumstances. I don't know. It'd be difficult for me.
But, like, military, like, obviously that's a different world. 100%. So the people that I know who are military, like, man, they just work amazing. Hard. They're faithful.
Yes.
They do everything that they can to be and see each other, especially those who, like, have kids and they get pregnant and then they get deployed, and there's
honestly so much respect.
Yeah, so much respect. And
I follow a lot of military wives, that I've either been like worked with or been at a church with, and they are amazing. I'm like, wow, I don't know how they do it.
Seriously.
Okay, so we'll do one more.
Okay,
maybe today.
This is a good one though.
Yeah, this is a good one. Number 5.
Go ahead.
Okay. What are the most common reasons for divorce? We actually have an episode on this one too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have different things in here. So infidelity, lack of commitment and communication. Okay, so then I have a whole list. We want to go through the whole list.
Do you want me to say the other one that you didn't say?
No. What? I said communication. Oh, I have 1 through 11. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, actually, it's funny. I have 1 through 12 because there's 2 4s. I don't know.
Yeah. But your number 1 you didn't say.
Sex becomes non-existent. No,
yes.
It's because
Yes.
So sex becomes non-existent. I said it twice.
Brittany gets a little uncomfortable saying the word sex.
No, I don't get uncomfortable.
On the podcast.
No, that's not true.
Completely true.
That's not true. Affairs, emotional and physical. Lack of clear boundaries.
Yep.
Lack of shared interests.
Mm-hmm.
Undiscussed debt.
Mm-hmm.
Believing that marriage is a cure-all, which is we talked
about.
We
just talked about that last week.
You complete me.
Yeah. Complete
I think.
me.
I mean, I get in theory that sounds very sweet, but in reality,
like you said, it's a bunch of BS.
I was maybe feeling spicy last week or in the week before. Who knows? Not speaking up. Troubles with in-laws. Religious differences. Not staying connected, differing life plans, and divorce. What? I don't understand how that's an answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, divorce, you probably just accidentally added that in because it made you think of it.
Oh.
But different life plans by itself.
Oh, yes, probably. And dispute over family responsibilities. Man, so many of these, I'm like, communication. But anyway.
I mean, all of it.
Yeah, so much. So, I mean, obviously, those are, what do you want to unpack there? That's a lot. Julian probably wants number 1 because that's like his favorite thing to talk about. But
no, it's not my favorite thing to talk about.
It's favorite thing to do.
Yes, there you go. I don't like to talk about sex non-existent in your
No.
marriage.
I'm saying no. I'm not the non-existent part. I know. Okay, so I think obviously all of these are serious.
Yeah.
So as much as you might be laughing at me, these are all serious. But I think so often it's like all of these are serious, but with good communication and just like it would change a lot.
It would.
You know what I mean?
In every single one of these situations.
So many of these. Now, obviously, some of these are really big. Like, I mean, religious differences, no sexy time. Obviously, affairs, which we've talked about, emotional or physical. And we have a whole episode on all of these specific things. But this is why it's so important. Now, obviously, if you're already married, like you're married, you're going to do your best to try to make your marriage work. But it's so important before you're married, like to have those tough conversations. Because I remember some of the conversations we had, we did not agree. We didn't agree on how we would discipline our kids.
On like so many things.
Yeah.
Like so many times
where
I was like,
where we would live, discipline our kids. I don't remember other things we disagreed on.
Just a lot. A lot.
I would say we had shared interests.
We grew up so different from each other that when we got married, we have an episode called this actually. It was towards the very beginning. When two worlds collide is like, oh my God, we're so different. Everything's so hard because we do not see eye to eye on anything.
But I think that's what happens. So, in the beginning, it's like, oh, this doesn't really bother me. Like, this doesn't bother me. But then the longer you're married, what you used to find maybe cute or funny, you're like, that's actually super annoying.
Oh, really?
No, you know what I mean, though.
I know.
Okay, in the beginning, you might be like, oh, they're kind of messy, whatever. And then over time, them being messy becomes you're frustrated to them that not being helpful. To then you have kids, so then it's messy. They're not helpful.
You're bitter.
You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of these things.
It builds.
Are things you didn't talk about. I would say, we have a whole episode on just like intimacy and sex. Mm-hmm. We have an episode all about. We actually interview my parents who are very open about like their story of, an emotional affair and how they came back from that and did not end in divorce. So we have an episode on that. Boundaries.
Mm-hmm. We have an episode on that one.
Boundaries are so huge. And like I said, people are always like, you are crazy. They say I'm the crazy one. He can have boundaries on me, but I can have boundaries on him. Yeah. Honey, it's 2024. But just boundaries, lack of shared interest. Like, that's so easy to fix. Like, just figure out something you like to do together.
Yeah.
We do like the dumbest stuff together.
Yep. It's true.
Last week we karaoke'd in our own house.
Yeah, we did.
Together.
For hours.
Hours. I literally, our 5-year-old climbed up in my lap and fell asleep.
Well, the lack of shared interest. So like, that's one of those things too, where there might be something that your spouse loves and they just are so interested in, and you can care less. But honestly, one of the best things you can ever do for your marriage is to care. Just go, you know what? You care about this so much. I'm going to do what I can to share the interest with you. Even though I don't really care and I probably never will, I'm going to give in and do it with you. Why not? Why not? So do we have lightsaber fights sometimes? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. That's so funny. Well, here's the thing. Like, you don't even necessarily have to do it. Like, do that. You know what I mean? Just show interest because you love them. You don't have to love what they love.
Yeah.
You can.
But asking the question, like, it's like the communication part, right?
So much of it.
So like
yes.
So there's something that you are super passionate about, and I know you're very passionate about it right now. The best thing for me to do is just be like, tell me about it, and just listen to you.
Just listen.
Talk about it, and it can literally go over my head.
Especially me, because I have a tendency to like, I'm a hyper focus. So like, I will love something, but I like love it.
And I just listen, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome,
and
babe.
I really want to talk about it.
Deep down inside, I'm like, I don't really care, but
and I'm like sending him all these reels about that thing.
Yeah, but because I care about her,
yeah,
I give interest.
Yes.
And it makes a huge difference.
Obviously, undiscussed debt. This is a big one. We share our, like, there's no secrets.
Before we got married. Before we got married, we're like,
debt, let's just you know it's there because it's yours too. But I'm just saying.
Literally before we got married though, like, let's just have a bank account together.
I mean, we're like, in ways, probably the least conventional in some ways, but we lived in Texas and I went to open a bank account and I was 17 and I was in college, but I was 17. Overachiever at the time, and they were like, you can't open a bank account until you're 18 in Texas. This was a long time ago. And I was like, I literally live here by myself. Like, I live in a dorm by myself.
Yeah.
Like, what was I doing?
I don't know.
And they were like, yeah, you have to have someone over 18. So we just opened a bank account together because I was like, I need somewhere to put my paycheck. I did not have a bank account.
So let's just say she wasn't very surprised.
Literally married.
She wasn't very surprised when I went to buy her a ring to ask her to marry me.
No, in all fairness, it's not like there was a bunch of like money, like a prenup. Like,
I made her sign a prenup for sure.
Totally. Anyway, believing that marriage is a cure-all, which we talk about. I think that's funny. You laugh. Not speaking up. Mm-hmm. I definitely do not struggle from not speaking up. If anything, I probably speak up a little too much.
Nope.
But this is true. I think a lot of times, it's like, you just need to say how you feel.
Yeah.
And again, communication, troubles with in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talk about that in
we have an episode. Episodes. It was like a
Christmas episode
or something like that. Yeah.
Religious differences. Obviously that's a big one.
It's a big one.
We don't have that, not staying connected. Again, this is just having those shared interests. Differing life plans. That's a tricky one. Yeah. And dispute over family responsibility. So much of this is like communication,
Yep.
I did think, okay, this last one, and then we can wrap this one up and then we'll do the other like 5 or whatever. This one cracked me up because I was like, I'll tell you exactly what I would do. It says, what should I do if my partner doesn't call me back? Just keep calling, honey.
That's on the top Google questions about marriage.
It was in your list. And then I looked it up and it was there too. And I was like, your partner, first of all, I'm like,
They're not calling you back?
I'm like, they're not calling you back? Like,
dude,
do you live in the same house?
It's 2024.
No, but like, are you in the same house? They're not calling you back? I'm confused. I don't know.
I don't know. It just seems a little...
I just thought it was funny. I'm like, if you can call me back, I'm just going to keep on calling.
Here's the thing. I'm sure people are dealing with it,
okay,
but...
Sir, I'm going to ring you again. I'm going to keep on ringing you. Oh, or like when you're not home. This is why people think I'm crazy, huh? On those boundary episodes. I'm not. He thinks it's funny. It's okay. He's fine. When he has his notifications on silent, I just notify anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not if I know you're in a meeting.
Yeah.
Let's see, you communicated that to me before the meeting.
I always try to communicate.
Like, hey, I'm going to be in a meeting, so,
Yep. I'll
woman,
call out. I'm going into a meeting.
And I usually will only call once and then whatever. But if, like, it says, notifications on silent, I'll be like, notify anyway.
I don't care.
That's my boy. That's my man. I'm not crazy. I'm really not.
Not crazy at all. Well, let us know. What do you think the top issues that people are searching and trying to figure out in their marriage?
What's your top question?
What is your biggest question that you have when it comes to marriage? What are the things that you're dealing with that you are Googling? Obviously, that's just an average of what people are Googling. There's so many questions that people are asking, but we want to know what you're thinking, what's going on in your house, in your brain, your house.
Instead of Google, ask Garcia.
Yeah, ask Google. No, ask Garcia. And we would love to have that conversation. But thank you guys so much for being a part of this episode. We're going to continue this top 10 Google searches for marriages next week. But this is kind of fun. I really love these kind of conversations because it really helps us understand and know where people are at. And trust me, the more and more I hang out with guys and people, I'm like, gosh, like, marriages are just struggling. Yeah. And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're passionate about it. So
I think here's the great thing.
Yes.
They don't have to struggle.
They don't.
And if we can have conversations around the stuff, then it becomes less of a stigma.
Exactly.
Oh, I can't talk about that. I can't talk about intimacy. I can't talk about communication. I don't know who to talk about with. But when we bring it out in the open, like, there's so much light and levity to that. And, strong marriages lead to strong families and strong kids and strong communities. And so, like, that's
what we want. That's our goal. Yep. That's our goal. So make sure you subscribe. If you like this video, you share it with anybody who needs help with their marriage. And we appreciate every single one of you for being a part of Young, Dumb, and in
Love.
Love.